Welcome to the Going North podcast, where you will be informed, encouraged, and empowered to embrace your dreams and advance in life through authorship. I'm your host, best-selling author of the book Stay the Course, and certified leadership trainer, Dom Brightman. Be sure to check out the goods and services from every guest, as well as the host himself, yours truly. Now let the fun begin. And today on the Going North podcast, where it's another crappy to happy invasion, baby. That's right, hashtag C2H, baby, crappy to happy. We got another fabulous author from the book, baby, another fabulous author. And this lady right here, my goodness, a pioneer in the field of acupuncture and holistic medicine. And not only that, she studied and mentored with Dr. David Bressler, founder of the first pain control unit in the US of A at UCLA. So let's give it up for the good doctor herself, Dr. Bonnie McLean. How you doing today, Dr. Bonnie?
Hi, Dom. I'm fine. I'm doing really well. Thank you. And thank you for having me. Nice to meet you.
That's right. It's nice to protein you too.
Thank you. I like that term better.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Time to start using that and spreading it around and throwing people off. Like, what do you mean protein me? It's like, wait, you said meat me. I'm like, oh.
I got it.
That's right. A corn cob a day keeps the people groaning a day. That's right.
That's good.
Oh, yeah. So since we want to keep you around, I don't have any apples around. So mind filling us in on who is the wonderful Dr. Bonnie herself? Because I'm pretty sure I forgot a lot of stuff in the introduction.
Well, I have become one of those little old ladies that hits people over the head with the umbrella if I disagree with them. And I didn't used to be that way, but I blurt out what I think now. I tell, and most of the time it's compliments. Although if somebody butts ahead of me in line or something like that, I'll say something. But I'm 75, and I guess I feel like I'm entitled. I can do it now. We kind of lose our filters. I still work. I still work full time. I still see my patients. Right now, I'm seeing some of them in Pensacola because my office is in Gulf Breeze and we lost our bridge in Hurricane Sally. So those of us that live in Pensacola and work in Gulf Breeze and vice versa have like an hour to an hour and a half drive now, which you probably don't think anything of where you live, but I'm spoiled now. When I lived in LA, it was nothing to drive that far. But here, one reason I came back home to Pensacola was because of the traffic and I wanted to slow down my lifestyle. So I'm in transition right now. What do you want to know about me?
Oh, yeah, all of it. That's right.
You and I have chapters in the same book, From Crappy to Happy. And I read your chapter and I realized that we have that in common, looking at the gifts from adversity. And that's what my chapter was about too. I guess it was for all of us in the book. I had a really difficult childhood, and in the process of healing myself from that was what taught me how to be a healer, basically. And I think a lot of us healers, a lot of us are wounded healers. We go into the profession because we had to heal ourselves. A lot of us came from challenging childhoods, I suppose. My dad was a physician and he was very accomplished and very highly respected. He was also an alcoholic, and my mother was an alcoholic as well. She was a nurse. But Dad he'd been in World War II and he'd been wounded, so he had very severe PTSD that they didn't treat back then. And when he came home, he was missing an eardrum and he had tinnitus and vertigo, and pain in his head and memories of the war. And that was what he did. He self-medicated with alcohol, which took its toll over the years. And mother just joined him. If you can't beat him, join him, I suppose. So it was a rough childhood. I wanted to follow in their footsteps, and back then girls did not become doctors. We became nurses if we went into medicine. We had a choice between secretary, teacher, beautician, or nurse. That was what girls went into. So I went into nursing, and I practiced nursing for 20 years, and then I started seeing medicine change, not to my liking. It started becoming less hands-on, started becoming more profit motive, and it got to be my job where I just would feed people medications, do their IVs, but I couldn't, the way it was set up, I didn't have the time to touch or sit down and talk with people, because it was always, like this money-making kind of thing. And I feel like that's where we have come. We do amazing life-saving procedures. We do. Our emergency rooms are great. Our life-saving surgeries, all of that is wonderful. But when it comes to actually taking care of patients in the hospital, I have to say I have not had a great experience as a patient myself. And I hope that we can move back into more of a hands-on direction. So, but that was what made me get out of nursing. And I'm glad, because I love my profession. I've been doing acupuncture now 38 years, and it never gets old. There's always something new to learn. None of us ever feel like we've learned it all. There are different people that walk in the office every day with different issues, different people to meet and get to know. And I get to spend time with people the way I had originally done when I went into nursing. So I'm not going to retire. And
There you
what,
go.
yeah, I think, for one thing, I think if we keep our brain young and busy, then that, does keep us young. If we constantly learn new things. And I guess you can do it if you retire and have a hobby or something, but this is my calling. So why would I retire from
There you go. So what are you doing to keep your brain healthy and young for the folks who want to do the same?
that? I'm always reading and studying something new. I do a lot of, listen to a lot of online webinars and learn new things, or a lot of things about old things. Like right now, I'm really interested in COVID, really interested in all the research and what's happening with that, since I had it myself back in July and August. I was ill for about 6 weeks. I was in the hospital in intensive care, did not go on the ventilator, but I did go on a respirator, and I was really ill and don't get it. That's all I have to say. no matter what you have to do not to get it, don't get it. It's quite an experience. But on the other hand, I feel like there were gifts that came out of that. And one was gratitude for things that I had taken for granted, like health, like being able to breathe, like being able to do my daily life. I don't take those for granted anymore. And I also feel so much gratitude for my community, for my friends and colleagues. They were saying lots of prayers for me. And I really feel like between the physicians who took care of me in the hospital, and I had all the treatments that President Trump is having right now, except I don't think I got the Cadillac version that I think he's getting. But the remdesivir, the antiviral, the steroids, I did convalescent plasma, where they give you an IV of somebody's plasma that has the antibodies that had COVID, and they have the antibodies. So I feel like that and the prayers that people sent me were the two things that pulled me through. So it was quite an experience, and I feel so grateful to all of those people that prayed for me. I could feel it. I knew something was happening that was good, and I didn't feel alone, even though I was in isolation.
Mhm.
But I tell you, it's it's a mystery still to all of us. We haven't experienced it yet, so I research a lot on that. I'm always researching on different treatments to give for pain. I like to treat trauma because that's the background I came from, and stress and PTSD. I treat veterans. I love my veterans. So I like to, do research on that too, to always come up with something new on how to work with people. And most people think of acupuncture working with pain. I treat addictions, help people get off of whatever substance, as long as if it's something really severe, then they need to go into rehab and then they come see me. But if it's something like cigarettes or marijuana or something like that they want to cut back on, or social drinking or that kind of thing, I treat them. And I treat them after they get out of rehab too. So those keep my brain young, I think. Plus having a younger boyfriend. I'm a cougar.
All right, there we go. Cougars are always great. There you go.
Yeah, he's 8 years younger, and he's very active, plays golf. A lot of fun.
There you go. So always research. Don't get the COVID, even though that'll be one hell of a research experience to take it to the next level, and do some cradle robbing. I love it.
That's true. That's true. And even we had Hurricane Sally here in Pensacola. It hit us smack, and we were blindsided. We thought the hurricane was going to at least go to Mobile or New Orleans, and it was the same day that Hurricane Ivan had hit, like 16 years ago or something. And it acted exactly like Ivan. It was going to go to New Orleans, and then it made this last minute turn and came to us. So none of us expected it. And we had as bad damage, if not worse, than we had with Ivan. We had so many trees down. I had a tree on my car, tree on my house, tree on my fence. And the beauty of that was, again, it was community. It was my neighbors saw that I was in trouble more than they were, even though everybody around me had trees down and, damage to fix. And they all stopped and came and helped me get this tree off of my car and my house and my fence. I was so touched by that kind of community. But we do see that here. We see people really helping each other. When you have something like that, I think it either brings out the best in us or the worst. And you get to see, it's like the two extremes when you have a disaster like that. So I like to look at when it brings out the best. And I remember that when I lived in California too, and we'd have earthquakes and we'd be in a line, and some people would be giving other people part of their water that they were getting or their gas, and other people were hoarding it. And it's like these two extremes. So I like it to look at the good part.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about, and definitely times of adversity. So with the whole, my goodness, because really dealing with the hurricanes, the earthquakes, and of course catching COVID and recovering from COVID, like what's probably been any advice for those out there who may be about this whole COVID thing? Because that's kind of like a hot, well, it has been a hot topic all year, to be honest, because all the damage that it's caused to everybody, even though some have been able to turn it into their advantage through this time of adversity. So it's probably been one of the biggest lessons you've learned from getting COVID and recovering from it. aside from also being grateful every day for the life that you have?
Better self-care. I have been probably a workaholic all my
Mm,
life, and I love my work. And I have I think I've taken better care of other people than I have myself. I think healers tend to do that. But if we don't put the oxygen mask on ourselves first, we're not there to put it on the other person. And I know to heal from COVID, I did have to be very selfish and very self-centered for a while. And I've never done that. I have never known what that felt like. If somebody, no matter what I've gone through in the past, if somebody had something bad too, or worse, I would always shift my energy and focus it on them without remembering to take care of myself too. And I'm really in the process of changing everything around my life now to do better self-care. I know the things to do. I will tell everybody else what to do. And then a lot of times I was getting too busy to do that for myself. My whole kitchen counter is covered with supplements. And I do take a lot of them. People ask me, do you take all of these? But I don't take meds. I take I take supplements. And I do take those. And a lot of times I would get too busy to eat regularly or eat right. And I hate to admit it, but I'm not a cook. My boyfriend cooks for me and sends home a care package for
there you
me.
go.
It actually got me trying to cook while I was ill because I couldn't leave the house. And people would bring me food, but a lot of times I would at least have to heat it up. And I tried to make deviled eggs. I did not do a good job with that, but soup I can do. Sweet
Oh yeah.
potatoes, baked sweet potatoes. But I think that was another big lesson that I'm still in the process of shifting with. I'm changing the way I'm working. I'm spending more time out in nature. I have a wonderful backyard. I'm planting more things back there and walking and just spending more downtime to make that balance. I'm 75 here. I think I was keeping the schedule of somebody in my 30s. I kept thinking I was still in my 30s.
Hey, age is just a number until something stupid happens, right?
Yes, and this was what happened. And I was wondering, I was wearing masks and I thought I was being really careful and I was taking my supplements and I thought, why did I get this? Since and I felt I was judging myself a little bit and then feeling, how you project out. So I was feeling like I was maybe being judged by, if you're a healer and you know how to do all this stuff, why did you get so ill? But I think that part of it was that I was run down, but part of it was having A type blood because apparently that's the most vulnerable blood type. So I
Hmm.
have A positive. I have a background of this. It's a, I don't want to say defect. It's a genetic dispensation, genetic, a gene called MTHFR that 40% of our population does have. And it keeps us from being able to detoxify our bodies as well as normal people do, the other 60%. So knowing that those of us that have it, there are certain supplements and diets that we can have that help counteract that so that we can have a normal body. And I wasn't staying on top of my supplements, frankly, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess you figured, hey, I got this mask on. That should account for some kind of supplement somewhere.
I was doing the hand washing and everything. And I was working in an office and we have 5 practitioners. And so people were coming in without masks, not, I was being hard on my patients, but some of the other practitioners were being lenient. And so I don't know where I got it. I don't know if I got it from that. I still can't track it, or possibly rubbing my eyes, touching something. Because even with the mask, if you rub your eyes, you can catch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and interesting stuff we got out there, that darn virus. Interesting stuff. Hopefully hibernation time is coming soon for it. Or should I say permanent hibernation for it.
Well, usually over time, I think humans, like we do with the cold and the flu, we kind of learn to acclimate to it. And it's this one has just been unusually lethal. So hopefully we'll build up whatever that, I'm not exactly sure what even herd immunity is, except that we all just get a little bit stronger towards something. The bodies start building up the antibodies. So I want to give some convalescent plasma, and I'm trying to put on more weight. I lost a lot of weight because I just didn't feel like eating, and I'm little anyway. So I weigh 108 and I have to weigh 110 to give plasma. So I'm trying to fatten myself up so I can go give plasma and help somebody else, because I feel like it helped save my life, and I would like to pass that on.
That's right. The healer's always giving, baby. That's right. She's got her magical bread basket of remedies going around the planet, baby. That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
That's
Yes,
what we
indeed.
do.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So did you have to basically fight off anybody during your days of acupuncture with the needles? 'Cause I'm sure you've had somebody scared of needles come to your office at least once, right?
Oh, I have a lot of needlephobic people. I think that our culture is because of all the shots that we started getting as babies and children, and then IVs throughout our lifetimes. And those are some of my favorite patients, because I usually, no, I usually, and I know that they're seeing me as a last resort, right? Which a lot of times with acupuncture, we're the last resort. People, you've tried everything else. And so when they come in and they're needlephobic, I use really thin, fine needles. I use Japanese needles, and they're not the kind that you see on TV and in the movies. Those are bigger needles. The Chinese needles and the Chinese approach it's different than the Japanese. So the Japanese have a different philosophy. The Chinese, and that's what I was trained in, was the Chinese. All of us were trained in Chinese acupuncture. They want to get the chi, they call it tapping the chi. And so they want to stimulate the point until you get like some reaction. And, like an ache or a tingle or a throb or heaviness or some kind of weird sensation. With the Japanese, they're more into coaxing the body. So they have a gentler approach. Like they just gently put the needle in, but a lot of it is also mental, like with an intention of what you want that needle to do. And we all believe that the body heals itself. So all we're doing is coaxing the body and helping support it to do what it knows how to do, which is to heal itself. So we know we're not fixing anybody. We know that all we're doing is supporting that patient to heal themselves. So anyway, to answer your question, the Japanese needles are extremely gentle. They're thin and they're fine, and it's a real gentle technique. And I get just as good results with it. So that's what I like to use. But everybody's different. Everybody has different preferences. If I get like an athlete or, somebody, a big bodybuilder, they like the more vigorous approach. But the things that I treat, such as, the trauma and that kind of, the stress and those kind of things, they usually like the gentler approach. They're already pretty traumatized. So that's usually my first step when I have a new patient that comes in, is to build the trust and to develop the rapport, but also to show them that they don't have to be afraid, that it's a gentle procedure. and get them relaxed. That's my very first thing. If I can get them to relax on my table, a lot of people fall asleep. If somebody snores or drools, I get really happy. Or stomach growling, those things. Those things. That's my key. So, so I'm real happy with that. So I do. I like to just, if I can get somebody relaxed that very first session, then I know that, you know, and if I know that we've developed rapport, I know that we're going to get them feeling better.
There you go. And then you put them in one of those masks that's shaped like a pie, right?
Right. I do. I have a mask. I look like a duck in this mask. So I know I'm trying to find one that I can breathe in, you know, all day, because I wear it all day when I'm seeing patients all day. So I'm trying to find one I can breathe in, but also mine does look like a duck. It works and I can breathe, but I've tried about 5 different kinds.
Ah, yeah. Well, that's pretty interesting though. Like there's always the Chinese technique and then the Japanese needles. Like I didn't even know there was a difference between the two, and it's pretty interesting. So how did you come across that? Was it just through regular networking with other folks in the acupuncture field and just learning from them?
Yes, yes, it was. I actually met a Japanese acupuncturist when I was living out in California, and I went under him a bit for some training. So that was it. But we do have, like I said, we're all trained more in the Chinese method. Most of the schools are focused on that, and that's really good basic training. It is. You don't use a needle inserter. You have to use just a straight needle, and so they have to be bigger because, you know, you have to make sure it doesn't break or bend. I have a cat that's wanting to join us here. One of my one of my crazy cats. So we were exposed to the Japanese acupuncture as well as mainly the Chinese, but there's also a Korean acupuncture. They have a whole, you know, they do a lot of acupuncture on actually the back of the hand. Ear acupuncture, which the French have developed. They have a whole intricate system of just using the ear. And you can treat the whole body and the neurotransmitters of the brain with just the ear. If you went to France and had acupuncture, they probably would either treat just the ear or mostly the ear. Isn't that interesting? Who knew?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so there are a whole bunch of different kinds. And then I think the American kind, we tend to take a little bit from a lot of these, and that's what I do. I just kind of have my own blend, and I also do energy work, so I add that, and herbs. We use the Chinese herbs and supplements and diet and lifestyle. All that's part of it. Bringing the body back into its balance so it can heal itself. Like I told you, I mean, I know the right things to do. I just was so busy helping everybody else do them. But that's changed.
There you go. That's right. Change for the better now. And it's great that you're really taking that holistic approach, especially with your main book, Integrative Medicine. Heck, I even like the appendix in the back where it mentions some of the Native American secrets from the natives. I was just really just keeping the right mindset and just really making sure you show gratitude every day you wake up because someone else didn't make it.
The indigenous people have so much to teach us, and they actually, I feel like the healing that I needed came through the indigenous people. I did a lot of psychotherapy and that helped, it did. But it was more like it was helping me understand my background and what had happened and why I was the way I was. And it was more like a mental approach though at the time. Now psychologists changed. They've moved more into working with the body now, but this was back in the 80s, 70s and 80s. And we hadn't gotten there yet. And it was the shamans and the indigenous healers that actually healed my wounds or helped me heal them through their heart. And that was where the healing needed to happen. And it was through their wisdom that had been passed down and listening to their elders and coming from a place of the heart that was able to touch my heart. And that was actually where I felt like I received the most healing. So I have so much love and so much respect for them. I studied with them. I went down to Ecuador 4 times. I went to Chile. I went to Brazil. Went to Australia, and I had teachers and healers and all this. And Bali. That was a really huge place for healing. And teachers that are here in the United States, like Sandra Ingerman, Michael Harner, Alberta Bioldo, all those are teaching us how to do the shamanic work and the indigenous healing in a way that the Western mind can understand it. So they're a wonderful bridge.
Oh, yeah. And it's kind of interesting. We're like in the era of bridges because there's like access to so much information out there that really, like a lot of us may have forgotten, and some of the stuff that we just need to be reminded of, and heck, even some new stuff that makes the stuff that we forgot about even stronger.
Yes, I think we're in an incredible time of transformation. I really do. And as crazy as it seems and as scary as it can be sometimes, if we look at the whole, the world, I mean, it just feels like a different place than the one I grew up in. But the indigenous people, again, have their take on it. They believe that we're moving from an age of darkness into an age of light. And that we're going through that. You need a death to have a rebirth. And so we're going through the death of some of our old concepts and our ways of living. Because I don't think the way we've been living has been very sustainable. How are we going to keep not paying attention to the earth and pouring toxins into it?
Oh yeah, you can see that again, especially remember past guest, I think it was Tracy McCubbin, where she mentioned how you throw stuff in the garbage and you're throwing something away, and it's like, where is away?
Mm-hmm. That's very good. Away is usually into our bodies.
That's right, and then down into the sewers, and then into the sewage, and then maybe it becomes Soylent Green.
Oh yes, I saw that movie. Let's hope we don't go there. But I guess, if we have possible, probable, past, present, futures, which that's one of the theories. Let's not choose that one. There's a probable. But I think we need to wake up. And I do. I feel like a lot of what's going on with us right now is a huge wake up call. And maybe I'm going to look at COVID that way too. At least it has been for me. And I figure if it is for me, I'm a microcosm of a macrocosm. So if it's happening to me, it's happening to other people as well, and to the collective. So that's the way I'm going to see it.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Won't even need the specs either. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So since this is far from your metaphorical first rodeo, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often when you're being interviewed?
I'd like to share some of the prevention things that people can do. Vitamin D. And when I was in the hospital, they gave me some of these vitamins. I was so impressed that a hospital actually used vitamins as part of their therapy. I've never seen that or had that happen. Vitamin D3. Everybody needs to be taking vitamin D3. I'm not going to give doses. Y'all can look those up because I don't want to prescribe. I just want to suggest. Vitamin C, large amounts of vitamin C. Vitamin C is water soluble, so you can't really hurt yourself with how much you take. What happens is you start getting digestive disturbance if you're taking too much. So the minute you start getting diarrhea or something, you know to back it off. I'm taking probably about 2,000 milligrams a day as a prevention right now, but you can take more. When I was ill, I was taking more than that. Zinc, definitely zinc, those things. And there's some Chinese herbs that are really good for prevention. Astragalus is one. Y'all can research that. And reishi is another one. Try to think of some of the other vitamins and minerals. Are you taking anything? Vitamin E and vitamin A for sure. You want a good multivitamin, multivitamin mineral just to keep the body, in optimal shape. Want to keep your digestive tract in good shape, so you probably want to take a probiotic. Get plenty of sleep, get plenty of rest and plenty of sleep and fresh air and sunshine and exercise. All the stuff we learned in science class, in junior high and high school. They're so simple, we think, oh, yeah. But how many of us really do it?
Mm-hmm. So true. It's like what's easy to do is easy not to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we've heard it so much, I think we just kind of take it for granted. And community, that builds our immune system, to have community, to feel like we're not alone. We have loved ones, we have people that care about us and people we care about. I think that's huge.
Oh, yeah. Heck, that's even one of the C's for explosive growth is definitely community, because we all need each other.
We do. And again, our society has become so nuclear family oriented. We don't have the extended families anymore. I mean, we don't have what do you call it? It's nuclear, but we don't have is it called extended family? Or is that non-family members that we make into a family? That's what I think we need to do. And that's what I've learned to do, because my nuclear family is very small. But I feel like my family is here in this city, but it's also in California, where I lived before, Australia, where I lived before, people I've even met online. Maybe you become part of it. At least you are today.
Sweet, I'm in the Bonnie Club. Yay.
And then I think too, I think it's important to have a purpose in life. I think that helps keep us going. And some kind of spiritual practice, whatever that is. And it doesn't, we all have our own way of feeling part of something bigger than ourselves and honoring that. And I think that also is good for the immune system. So that would be all I would want to say.
Hey, some good stuff indeed, some good suggestions that we all need to keep in mind and keep in our lives too, because it's one thing to keep it in mind and you don't do it, but if you keep it in mind and you take action on it, then that's where the magic really happens.
Mm-hmm. And the gratitude, I think that keeps our immune system good.
Oh, yeah, keep it good with 10 O's even.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, keeping it good. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but this time in 2020, with all of your amassed knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Again, the self-care, take as good care of myself as I take care of everybody else. Also, to understand that healing is an incremental process, so to be patient with ourselves when we're going through that process. In my case, it took years. Not everybody may need that much, but it's not a one-time deal. It's not an instant fix. We're so used to fast food and fast this and that and instant results and everything. And healing, true deep healing, is step by step and incremental. And so, a lot of times it's 2 steps forward, a step back. And so to be patient with ourselves, learn from our mistakes, because we have gifts in all of our mistakes. And all of the hard things that happen to us, there's a gift. And to look for that, to be aware that there is a gift somewhere, and to let that in. So yeah, those would be the things I would like to have understood when I was younger.
Yeah, we have gifts and all of our mistakes. There we go.
Hmm.
Yes, indeed. That's a giant emerald of a one-liner right there. That's what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's right. Some necklace swag ahoy with all this knowledge indeed from the good doctor. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for those who want to keep in magical contact with the good Dr. Bonnie herself, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you?
Well, my webpage is very good. There's a way to reach me through that. Plus, there's a lot of really good information on it, especially on my blog page with COVID. I have a lot of this information I gave here on that blog page. So it's www.spiritgatemedicine.com. And that's SPIRITGATE at att.net. Not, no, that's my, I'm sorry, it's .com, spiritgatemedicine.com. My email is spiritgate at att.net. And you're welcome to email me too. So thank you for asking.
Oh, my pleasure indeed. We got to put the compass out so folks can find you. Yes, indeed. You got to put that location on the map. That's right. Yes, indeed. This is where Bonnie stays in the virtual world. You can knock on her door.
That's right.
That's right. And don't worry, she'll answer too.
Yes, I will.
Oh, yeah. So there you have it, folks. Check out all of her wonderful wares. Support the Crappy to Happy book. Make it a magical bestseller like you know you can, because she's got wonderful stories. The host has some great story in there too. And there's 25 others. Actually, no, 28 other stories, I think, in the book to make it 30 total. So yeah, so pick it up, check it out, and tell your friends. So any parting words to the folks still listening, Dr. Bonnie?
Well, I liked your story in the book too.
Oh, thank you.
Thank y'all. Thank you so much for listening. And I'm here if anybody wants to contact me.
This is your host, Don Brightman. Hope you enjoyed what you just heard. And if you really did, do me a solid and leave a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, wherever you're listening to. And subscribe to hear more because more is coming your way to advance you further than before.